Good morning and welcome to our live talk program. This is Lloyd Grubb here, your host on Revive Reform Radio, doing our live talk program covering the importance of church on this year Tuesday morning, Rise and Shine and Give God the Glory. And this morning here, we're looking at a topic, Veiled Pullback Reveals Depravity Amidst Progress. Veil Pullback reveals depravity amidst progress. So welcome again. Hopefully you had a blessed night rest and ready to take on today. Let us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, I thank you again for the blessings of your word, for the blessings, dear Lord, of the revelation that you give to us, that we might understand what is going on amidst, dear Lord, all this human progress and advancement. May you bless us, dear Lord, that we might live according to your ways and your will and not be deceived into any of these things that are going on or these movements. May you bless us, we pray, for Christ's sake. Amen. So again, I'm looking at this topic, and this is important topic here, which is veiled pullback reveals depravity amidst progress. And this is one of those things that, as you look at what's going on, and I might tell you exactly where I'm going, so it doesn't put out a principle. You don't understand what am I, talking about. So as you look at human progress, you see over the years, there's constant inventions and, technology is getting better. And amidst of all of that, everything could seem very clean. It's like you driving through a beautiful neighborhood and the neighborhood look nice. And then one could not think that there's axe murderers living in these houses and all that type of stuff going on. But stuff is going on, all kind of incest and all that type of stuff. So it's important to not get caught up into all the technology. It is something that I do pay a lot of attention to myself to a certain degree. But yet I'm always reminded that don't get caught up into it to a certain degree, because you have to know the deeper things that are going on in society. And so that's what I'm going to share with you, reveal to you here this morning, some of that type of philosophy. And so you'll just hold on here and just hear me out. So God pulls back the veil to reveal the true state of human depravity amidst all the progress. So you see progress around you, and you see all the inventions, all the technology, all the systems, because there's a lot of systems that are being put in place for better dealings with humanity. UN, the various different free trade agreements, all these different things are genius systems that are working for globalization, for allowing systems in place for communication, all of that. And so we see all of that, and one could say human beings have progressed. So then I want to ask you the question, and I'm probably sure you've heard this rationale before. If not, I'm going to put it forward to you here. Have you ever heard that humans have progressed since there is so much technology and systems invented? So have you ever heard people say that? So human beings have progressed, so we are progressive. And what does that simply mean is that, because as I said it other times here, because I have a cell phone, or because I have I'm talking to you now, so you can listen to me from wherever you are in the world. Because of that reality, that we have progressed and we're better, and that the people back in the past, they used to live without technology, so they were uncivilized. And that's the mark of civilization. It's not behavior that is civilized, but it is the technology that has civilized us. And that's basically the concept. So like when I've heard a lot of preachers say it in a different way, when they break down the Old Testament, they talk about it as these people were primitive, or Jesus was primitive. And so since he didn't understand basically rocketry to send people to the moon, he is uncivilized. And so they talk about the Bible as if it's this old book, and what it's dealing with is it's kind of, let's like modernize it a little bit or something. And so I'm not one of those people to believe that. I believe that human behavior is consistent. The technology comes and go. The Egyptians had technology. Various different people had technology, and technology comes and go. Technology is basically what I need for the situation I'm in. The history of humanity was oral. Now we need things to record our history, because our brains are fried. So I don't see it as progress in that sense. So, I'm aware because, I do my own websites, do the internet radio here. I'm into technology in a big way, in more ways than most people would realize. I'm talking to you now and literally streaming from the East Coast in New Jersey. I send the signal is sent via the internet to Washington State, and then you're listening to me from a signal that's being beamed back to you from Washington State. So as I speak to you, there's probably seconds delay, and literally because I've tested it, and literally the stream is being sent all the way across the country and then back, and I have people listen to me as in the Middle East, in Russia, in Africa, in South America, and, all over the north, where you call this the North America. It's phenomenal stuff here. So this is the what it is. So it's not like I'm not into technology. So I just say that up front. If I say these things, people think, "So you're not into technology?" I'm into it more than the average person. You wouldn't believe, but yet, so that's why for me a topic like this is important to ponder, because I heard people say that it's like, I say this again, normally if you say that you don't believe in evolution, people believe you never read a scientific book, and they get disrespectful like that because they think both are not compatible. But I see them as two separate streams of information. So this is what this little talk here will do to kind of delve into this. So if you look at Revelation chapter 13, verse 15 and 16, Revelation 13, verse 15 and 16. Now remember again, we're reading words that were written over 2,000 years ago. And so the whatever John was seeing is not unique. It's the same behavior. It's just we have more technology to make it happen. Look at it, John, not John, but the Revelator, the Revelation chapter 13, verse 15 and 16. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. So here we have it. Now many people have speculated what this is, and we don't get into any explanation per se of what this is going to happen here. Ultimately, if you read the text, you see the amidst the symbols, you see the communication here that there's going to be a forced worship, and in this forced worship, it's going to be a global forced worship. And yet you see that these are things that have happened in the past. People look at this story in Jesus' time when Jesus was born, and the Bible says that everyone was taxed by Caesar. Caesar is known as the great taxer. He come up with this massive system to be able to tax everybody in his realm, not just in Rome. And somebody said, but how is he able to do that in a time when it's not modern? And that's the point. Human beings can do what they can do, even without modernity. And with modern invention, it's just make it more possible to do the same thing. It's doing the same thing, but just doing it with more efficiency. Everybody used to be able to communicate. Now we're able to communicate to more people, but it's the same communications. Human beings always had entertainment. We're just able to entertain more people across the globe because of the inventions that we have. It's the same behavior. It's just the behavior can be, can blow up and become larger and communicate to more people. But human behavior never change. And so forced worship, forced allegiance has always been the thing. You force people by the gunpoint and say you're going to kill them if they don't adhere to what you want them to adhere to. What's new? There's nothing new there. So whether or not you were looking at something like this 2,000 years ago, or you looking at it now, nothing new. Somebody say, oh no, we have new things here. No, it's nothing new. In the past, when you were young and you're in school, you always had to learn to deal with bullies. You had to get to a point where you have to be like, look, I'm going to have to stab somebody if you all don't back off. And nothing has changed. The situation is still the same, But when you grow up, you still have to deal with that in your workplace and everything like that. It's the same behavior. Human beings, and then people will gang up on you. And you have to say, well, okay, if 5 of you gang up on me, I'm just going to kill one of you, and then that will fix it. At least you beat me up, but one of you die. And then that's the only way. That's why in modern time you have guerrilla warfare. That's the same thing. A small group of ragtag army is fighting against a major superpower. That's what that is all about. It's the same bully that you would face in, say, your lower grades in school, and then when you become adult you face them in work, or you have to face them on a national or international level. Nothing changed. Human behavior is still the same. So what the Bible does for you and I, it pulls back the veil so that we can hear this chatter about the Bible is this ancient book, which it is, and that's the good part. And you can read it and then you can study human behavior, how people gang up, how countries will align themselves and have alliance, and they'll come together in an alliance to beat up another country. And then another country will say, okay, since you are going to go against me, I'm going to go and sign a treaty with somebody over here, and I'm going to sell my people out just to protect them. And you read these stories in the Bible, and then you see human behavior in modern times. You realize, wait a minute, so what's different? And then you say, oh, there's nothing different. It's just human behavior being duplicated over and over again. It's just with now we have technology. So I don't have to go and get over the city wall and attack the city or this kingdom. All I have to do is send guns and ships and bombs and missiles. And they say, oh, so it's the same thing. And then they have missile defense, missile shield. They have all these type of stuff. Why? Because the technology changed the warfare, but the warfare is still there. It's still, it's still the NATO alliance. And you can find multiple type of examples in the Old Testament of similar lines. It's just the same thing. A group of people say, I want to beat you up and take what you have. Another group of people say, I'm going to join with this person over here and I'm going to protect myself. You think about what's going on in many of the inner city, in the urban areas amongst the black communities. You have this thing called gang warfare. And people join up with a gang. You go and interview them and you say, what? The interviewer say, why you join the gang? And the person said, for protection. You go to prison and you have the Aryans, you have the blacks, you have the Mexicans, you have the whatever. And everybody know you have the Christians. You either get very religious to survive or you get very gangster to survive because your bros have to go protect you. Nothing different. It's just now, you have more technology. And so the veil pulled back by the Bible, and it reveals the depravity amongst the progress. So you can see the progress. And you can see that human beings, have done more inventions. But people still gang up on social media and bully people, let them feel like they want to kill themselves. And some of them do kill themselves. It's the same depravity. It's just we have a means of doing it. You can do a new whatever movement, whatever hashtag. And then you're like, hashtag, what is a hashtag? And then you say, oh, that's what the hashtag is. And and somebody say, that's going to change things. I always remember people use it as a joke. But quite a few years ago, there was this guy who was, these guys attack a village, I think in Nigeria, and kidnap some young girls and took them to, I guess, sell them as bride and use them to work and stuff like that. And they had a hashtag to bring the girls back. And people do a hashtag to bring the girls back, and people are like, some people took it serious, and some people are like it's a joke. These people, they're barbaric. They're not thinking like that. But that don't mean anything to them because there's a global outcry to bring them back. It's like, what is that? They're probably over there like, global outcry. Explain that to me. As human beings it's the same craziness. It's just now they're able to do it, have cell phones and stuff like that, but they're still depraved. Human depravity doesn't change because of inventions. An invention doesn't change my heart. An invention doesn't change my lust and my hates and my fears and my needs and wants. It's just an invention. That's all. It can just make my life a little bit more comfortable, or it can make me sin a little bit more comfortable. So this same text here, Revelation 13, verse 15 and 16, that says, cause it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right and or in their foreheads. In the time of Caesar, it was doable, but it would be more difficult. In our time, it's still doable. It's just probably less difficult. The technology makes it easier. That's all. Just technology make it easier. Somebody say, "Oh no, it's the technology is going to be the reason for it." Well, see, it attacks everybody. The technology. When you have a global dominant power, it'll crush anything that's in its way. So, what does it matter? It's just now the technology make it easier to crush whatever comes up against it. In Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 7 through 10, Jeremiah 17, verse 7 through 10, the Bible here reveals humanity, not in its glory. It says, "Blessed is a man that trusteth in the Lord, and whose hope is in the Lord. For he shall be as a tree planted by waters, and that spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat cometh, but her leaf shall be green, and shall not be careful in the years of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit." So this is what the Bible describes the righteous, and you can understand why this discussion alone I'm having with you. When one understands that, one doesn't get caught up, one doesn't get all overly excited in even what you do. As I say, I just see the technology as a means for me to communicate. Don't get all caught up into it. Salvation is still the change of the heart. The technology just give me opportunity to reach the person and communicate with the person beyond walls and beyond boundaries. I could talk to a person in any country if they have internet connection. And if the government don't know that they need to block me. That's just the reality. It's just the ability. But what I communicate is important. I could be doing sports news right now. I could be doing a sports podcast and all that type of stuff. And that's just what it is. It's just you can just use it for whatever. It's just a tool. You don't get caught up into it. So the person who is righteous, they are not living the way the world. They don't see the world. Imagine a person believe that says their life is going to be better and they're civilized because of technology. And they're better than, say, one of the disciples. They're more civilized. And when you deal with them, you realize there's an uncivilized wretch. What are they talking about? It's civility is in your behavior. If you have no virtue, no temperance, no patience, you're not going to be civilized. If you don't know God, you ain't going to be civilized. You're going to seem civilized. And that's the trick of it. That's the magic. It is seem civilized. But when you get back and you pull back the veil, you get to meet the person. You realize this person is an uncivilized caveman, living in a man cave, acting like a chimp or a shrimp, and yet saying they're civilized because they have a $1,000 phone. So if I go and buy the $1,000 phone, and I have the $1,000 phone, now does that make me civilized? Does that make me act civil? And I always remember. I remember when I was young, people, you deal with some people and they have $5, they have a few dollars, they have 2 pennies to rub together. And they make it seem like, wow, they're so special. And I used to think and say, so when I get that money you have, does that make me special? So that's why I don't think you're special. I just think you're just a human being that needs salvation. And because I say, well, say I'm in my 20s, I'm going to get to where you at when you're 40s. And now when I get there, that don't make me special. When I have what you have, don't make me special. It's just stuff. You don't get caught up into what stuff does. You get caught up into your heart, into your love for people, into your love for God. Now notice in verse 9, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? Very difficult. Ask a psychologist. They don't even know themselves. I, the Lord, search the heart. I try the reins, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doing. So you see a person and they say, oh, my life is wretched. And I'm like, yeah, that's the point. You're wretched. You see, you need Jesus. But the person will say, oh, no, I don't need none of that. I don't need no morality. I don't need no righteousness. I don't need to learn no justice because I'm civilized. And you say, why are you civilized? Oh, because I have this phone right here. And that makes you civilized. The phone. I drive on highways, really. And that makes, what is that? Civil. That's not civility. That's just driving highways. You know how many people, they're so uncivilized on the highways. But yet, they on the highway. Very uncivilized. In Romans chapter 3, verse 22 and 23, Romans chapter 3, verse 22 and 23, notice it says, even the righteousness of God, which is by faith, even the righteousness of God, which is by faith of Jesus Christ unto all and upon all them that believe, for there is no difference. Notice, there's no difference. Whoever you are, there's no difference. And this is why humanity, in their depravity, has tried to come up with all kind of means of proving that a person is a good person. You ever talk to somebody and they say, I know the person that works in the mayor's office. And I'm like, okay, so what does that do? And yeah, I mean, that's nice. I mean, I wouldn't mind knowing the mayor myself, whoever that mayor is, at least for a city, at least. Not for a local town. But, and then what does that do? But that's human beings. Human beings want to see. This is why, like, institution. If you get to the core understanding of why people will join secret societies like the Freemasons, because they want to connect with people who are somebody. They want to connect with the judge. They want to connect with whatever. They want to say, yeah, I know the Monsignor, I know the cardinal, I know the local lawyer, the local judge, because that somehow changes something. It didn't really change anything. The human being still is what they are. Doesn't mean that person can be honorable and decent, even without accepting Christ. It just simply means, I'm just simply saying here that you can't get caught up with all of that stuff. Because when God pulled back the veil, you find out that says in certain communities, certain crimes are very high. And in other communities, other crimes are very high. But, you go and they say, oh no, these people over here, they're the best. And you say, why they're the best? Because they're most advanced. Estonia. I was watching some pieces on Estonia last week. I think it was, and the week before. Very advanced. Used to be part of the former Soviet Union, and they digitize everybody, so they make it that it's easy to control everybody. Everybody's a number, a scan, or a barcode. You scan a barcode, all the information pulls up. They vote online. They do all this. So then you say, well, that must be the best country to live in. It's the most. I think it's the number one country for technological advancement. I think that's the country that invented Skype. So you look at it and you say, well, they're doing all that advanced stuff. They must be the most morally upright, civilized, whatever. But that doesn't, all of that stuff is, human behavior is still human behavior. People are still sinners. So, for there is no difference. And most people don't want to hear that because they want to believe if I'm part of a certain country, if I'm part, that make me special. It might be special in some ways, I guess, but the Bible said there's no difference. Notice here, verse 23. For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. It might be human glory, and I'm not going to take away human glory. It's beautiful to see a bridge. Honestly, love that stuff. Look at how that stuff is made, and it's just blown away. I love engineering, love technology. It's this type of stuff. I really enjoy that stuff. I think I like design, symmetry, even madness sometimes in abstract art. Some of it is interesting. But that still does not make, I remember when I was younger, they try to give you education that's all rounded. So for me, I tell people, like, say, every Sunday I will get up and I'll watch the ballet, hopefully I said that right, the people on their toes dancing. I listen to country and western music, listen to just about every type of music, just have a well-rounded education. It's still sick in my head. I still needed Jesus. So many inventions are simply used for evil intent, although they are promoted for good intention. So you think about genetically engineered. Genetically engineered is one of those multiple examples I'm going to bring here. When you think about genetically engineering, you think about this idea that the veil is pulled back and reveal the depravity amongst progress. They say, well, we're going to genetically engineer stuff. And where do they say they're going to engineer stuff for? Primary Africa. You look at it and they say, oh, we're going to engineer the stuff for Africa so we can feed the starving people in Africa. And you say, wait a minute. As a continent, Africa has the most, I think they call it arable. I think that's the word, arable. Hopefully I'm getting that right. land that is good for farming, just fertile land, so much, in spite of the Sahara Desert, so much fertile land. You say, well, why they starving? Has some of the largest deposits of minerals and various different inert material, rare earth material, all that stuff. Think about lithium. Lithium is in high concentration in Afghanistan and also in Africa. Cobalt, high concentration in the Congo. You name the war-torn areas in Africa, you can just know the uranium. Wherever you know there's war going on, there's uranium, diamond, cobalt, lithium, all the basic stuff that we need for even to do the screens, the filters on the lens. You want one of the nice lenses that are used for like HD cameras. Well, if you look at the HD camera lens, you can notice there's these, the colors are actually on the lens. It's actually put on there. Well, guess where they get those things from? There's only so many places in the world that has those rare earth materials. And so wherever those rare earth materials are is war, and bloodshed. But yet the scientists come and say, we moral, we righteous, we civilized. So what are you doing, scientists? Oh, we're genetically engineered foods to feed Africa. And I'm like, why do they need you to feed them? Oh, because they're starving. Why? Well, they're not starving. You mean because there's war for diamond, and you all want the diamond, so they can't get to farm and they can't get to develop. And that's your solution, is the genetically engineer stuff that they already have. I remember they were talking about genetically engineer, I think it's a potato, genetically engineer a potato that's going to be high, I think in vitamin A and protein. And then as they search the globe, they realize, oh, there's potatoes already out there that is high in protein and high in vitamin A. So what's the point? There's thousands, you check it out, thousands of variety of rice. But if you grew up all your life and you think there's just white rice and that's it, and probably short grain and long grain, you think, oh, they need to genetically engineer rice that can do this. And then somebody say, oh no, here you have this rice, you can do that. Oh no, we need to do a rice that can be like flour and it's sticky. Well, oh no, we have a rice like that. Okay, what can I think about? Whatever you can think about, God already done it. But they'll come up with some type of stuff because they say, we have the technology. So we go genetically engineer something that God already come up with already. It's already there. So then you say, well, why are they doing that? Because they're deprived. It's a sickness. And the sickness is creating this problem. But you don't know unless the Lord pull back the veil and reveal to you human depravity. Because human behavior, human heart is consistent. Now they might veil it and hide it by coming up with some false means. Like, I know a person want to abuse you. A con man want to abuse you. The con man don't come straight at you and say, hey, I want to abuse you. You say, oh yeah, come on, abuse me. The con man come and say, here's the candy, Lloyd. You want the candy? And I'm like, yeah, okay. And then they come and abuse me. And then they touch me places that they're not supposed to touch me. This is the type of problem. So there is a United Nations. After World War II, they came up with this idea of United Nations to kind of hold back wars. But the same warmongering spirit and behavior for material possession continues. As the wars stopped after United Nations were created, as the wars continue, as proxy wars continue. Yeah, they just come up with a different means. They say, well, it's not good for France, America, Russia, China, and Germany to go to war. I think wrong. France, England, China, Russia, and America. These are the permanent members in the Security Council. So, well, it's not good for any of the five of us to go to war. It's going to be terrible for both sides. So let's do proxy war. So if we want a war in Algeria, one of you will back, some of us will back one side, the others will back another side, and we fight the war that way. And there's a bloodbath, but we're not fighting war. Officially, those 5 countries have not gone to war. They're gone, Vietnam, other places. But for the most part, even in Afghanistan back in the 80s, it was Russia and America fighting each other. But they back the French factions within Afghanistan, and they went at it, and it caused the collapse of the Soviet Union. So the war still continued, but in the United Nations officially there was no war. What were you talking about? Notice that there's no war. It's there's no one country going to war. It's the coalition of the willing. So they called it the last time, the coalition of the willing. It is so silly, but what it is the same behavior. But when the Lord show you that, look, go read your Bible. This is always happening. They just come up with a few nations coming together, and they call it whatever, the coalition of the willing, and the freedom fries or whatever they call it, pizza on steroids, and they just go and bomb up a whole country. It's the same human behavior. But if you say, well, but they're using guided, they're using guided missile, laser guided missile, and you say, what do they use that for? Well, they go, it's precision bombing. Okay, and so what's going on? Well, there's somebody at this house, and they're gonna drop that missile on this house and take that house out. And you say, well, so what happened to the two houses? What happened to the two houses next door? Well, they just want to take out this house, and they actually hit the target. They took out that house, and then what happened? Oh, they took about 5 houses on each other side. They blew up the whole neighborhood and kill everybody. But they actually hit the target right dead on. It is the same behavior. So somebody says, oh, but we have it. But we have GPS guided missiles now. Before, we would have just go into a city and we just... Here's another thing. You would, before you read the Old Testament, they'll just surround the city and they'll just starve everybody to death. And sooner or later, the city will run out of water, run out of food. Then they start eating the kids, and it gets rough. And somebody read it and say, man, back in the Old Testament time, man, things were barbaric. And then you say, well, what's going on right now? Oh, one of the number one most important assets for conquest is what you call the embargo, the trade embargo. You cut off a nation. You join forces with all the other nations to make sure a country cannot buy or sell. You basically do what already Revelation 13. You make sure all the countries around don't sell to this nation, even if they're next door. And you do economic blockade, embargo. It's done to Cuba, it's done to Iran, it's done to North Korea, and you starve the people in the country to hopefully kill the king. But until they kill the king or overthrow whoever is leading them, all the poor people especially, because as I always look at North Korea. North Korea is being blockaded and starved. The poor people are starving. The kids are starving. I'm sure some people are probably eating their kids in North Korea. But if you look at the leader, King Jong-un, is plump. He looked like a peach or a pear. He's just wide in the middle. Ready to pull off the tree like a nice Georgian pear and bite into it. It looks more than stout. But you look at that, but you look at it and say, oh no, this is civilized. We have a civilized system in place to deal with rogue nations. I'm like, ain't nothing different. It's the same system that they use in the Old Testament, where you surround the city and you starve them because the king is going to always eat. The first people that it's the poor people is gonna starve, and you read a story where the woman, two women get together and say, okay, today we eat our child, your child, and tomorrow we eat my child. And then the other woman, these stories. You read these stories in the Bible, and people say, oh man, these stories in the Bible, oh, I can't take the Bible, it's gross. And I said, so what your country doing? Oh, we're starving people over there in North Korea. If you look at what was going on, I'm sure you I was watching this documentary with what's going on in Syria. As you know, the Syrian war primarily was pushed on. If you look at the history of it, the current civil war was pushed on by the American ambassador. And, there was one I was watching, and basically they would show like you have all these cat heads, because the people start eating cats and donkeys and stuff like that, and the imams have to come out and basically give the people I guess, moral right to eat donkeys and cats and stuff like that. So, if that thing continues, the next thing they start eating the kids also. I guess they don't even have to kill the kids. They could just do a fresh kill. The kid that, the bomb went off, the kid died. They shoot a video and say, oh, the barbaric people, they're killing our kids. And then they go and cook the kids later and eat it. I always remember the story of Liberia. There's a couple of two ladies that I met from Liberia. And they were telling me the story that their mom and the pastor, they were walking to get away from the bombing. And they would go to certain camps. And like people come to them and say, hey, look, if you're going to eat, don't eat out of that pot because that pot has flesh, human flesh in it. Because they were literally cooking human beings and eating them to survive because the bombing, because they said all the animals fled, everything fled, and that's it. So they had to be eating human beings. And then when you check it out, the person that was mainly responsible, one of the main players, I should say, not the only person who was responsible, separately from Firestone, that's where we get a lot of our rubber for the tires we drive on in our cars in America and the world, from Liberia. But anyhow, so one of the Charles Taylor, which was one of the main players in those wars in Liberia, where same thing like in the Bible would be happening. Well, Charles Taylor was backed by Pat Robertson, which is the 700 Club guy. And he was a CIA operative, as for what I see, for the evidence it seems, I should say. It's allegedly, and the evidence seemed to be consistent to show that Charles Taylor was working for the American government. So this is the type of thing that's going on. But somebody would say, you'll meet a person and they'll say, oh, the Bible is so barbaric. It records all this barbarism. Oh, I'm superior to the Bible because we civilize and we love. It's all about love, baby. And I'll be like, what are you talking about? Nothing has changed. There's no Bible times. The Bible times continue. We just have more, tongue-in-cheek way of selling the same nonsense. We're starving people just the same way. Come on now. Look at what's going on in Iran. No, Iran, Yemen. This is an American proxy war going on. And yet, everybody would be here, and they're down in the Bible. So my thing with what I love about the Bible, church, religion, is that, at least the religion that I study, is that it opens up and show what's happening in clear light. It pulls back the veil so you can see for truth and in fact that human beings are just the same way. Human beings are human beings, and don't be fooled by, because I can't even say the price of the phone. I don't know what. I bought this phone and this phone has been good to me. And then one day I went and checked. Well, I said, how much did I buy the phone for? And I was like, I paid that much. I can't even believe I paid that much for a phone. But that don't, it just make me able to communicate. It doesn't change me as an individual. This is very important. Somebody said, why is that so important? I'm telling you, there's people walking around, roaming the face of the planet, believing that they're superior because they have a phone. It's silly. Notice scientific progress is there. It is real. Scientific progress. But then human beings insert this concept of evolution to justify barbarism. See, and I've said this, and most people really have not looked into this, and I'm sure you've looked into this, that whatever his name, Darwin. As a matter of fact, evolution first came from a Catholic priest. He was the first one to start pushing that. Later on, Darwin picked it up and then he blew it up. But Darwin's principle of evolution was to prove that Europeans were superior. This is old news. And yet you go to most people and you say, why you believe in evolution? Because it's scientific. I'm like, no, because it was to prove European superiority. The concept of evolution was to prove why Europeans were dominant. And because they were dominant, they had to be superior. That was the whole premise of Darwin's book. Darwin's is not a scientific principle. It's a principle of why one race is superior to another. This was the original title of his book. It's the dominant race. Look it up. You see what I'm saying? Go online. You'll see quickly. And then they removed the full title and just put whatever they put there. It's just to cover it. It was to prove barbarism. It was to prove that one race would go to any lengths to dominate another race. Hence, they're superior. The whole concept of Darwinism is based upon how vicious are you going to be to win. Hence, a person that take performance enhancing drugs, to be able to win a contest, a sport contest, is superior. Because whoever is willing to take the most drugs to win is superior. That's Darwin's evolutionary theory in a nutshell. It is like me and you doing business, and you come and you get a machete, or you get a gun, or you get the latest gun or latest technology. You could get a beam, a laser beam. I don't know if they got there yet. You could get a lightsaber, and you kill me and take over my farm. Darwin said that person is the most advanced. They evolved the most. But when you pull back, you look at it and say, wait a minute. The person that's the most barbaric is the advanced? No, that's human nature. That was always the case. The case of human conquest was not proving who is more superior. It's just proving who can be more vicious to win. That's all. So in Proverbs chapter 6, verse 16 through 28, here the Bible outlines what has always been the problem. Human nature has always been the same thing human nature has always been. Notice in Proverbs chapter 6, verse 16. Proverbs chapter 6, verse 16 says, "These 6 things that the Lord hate, yea, 7 are an abomination unto him: a proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren." So we pause there a little bit. So notice here, this is a quick summary of human nature. And then Paul later on gives even a faster summary: lust of the eye, the pride of life, and the deceitfulness of riches, or something along that line. So you can quickly summarize human bad behavior. And when you quickly summarize it, you realize, whether you're reading about the story of Noah, when you read about the story of David, when you're reading about the story of time of Jesus, when you're studying about the Dark Ages, or you're looking at what's going on in our modern time, the Bible pulls back the veil and reveals that human depravity can be in the midst of grandeur and glory. Israel in this most glorious state was under David, Solomon, but really Solomon. But yet, how quickly things devolved, not evolved, but devolved into darkness. Human depravity is what it is, just human depravity. But you could look at it and say, oh, look at all the splendor, look at all the gold, look at all the design, look at all the symmetry, look at all of this. And amongst that is a lot of incest, a lot of rape, a lot of theft, murder. Human behavior is consistent. The technology doesn't make a person righteous. Money does not buy love, but money does not buy symmetry of character, does not buy conversion. Notice the most crooked people in our society are often the richest. Often that's probably one of the reasons why they have so much money. Sometimes. A proud look, that's always bad. No matter, you see a person fill of themselves and they're going to crash later on in life. They're still going to be disliked. It's not just God that doesn't like it. It's just, that's life. A lying tongue is always going to be a lying tongue. A person that will perjure themselves, a person that will lie on a person and mess them up, destroy their reputation. The person could do it and be the head of Microsoft, be the head of Google. It could be the head of Tesla. Could be, well, we know who he is. It could be the head of Apple. It could be the head of Amazon. Doesn't mean that a person that can't have a depraved mindset. But people assume that because the person is very sophisticated in technology, the person has musical skills, the person is an artist, Michelangelo, the person is whatever, then they're shocked. Human depravity doesn't mean that a person can't have talent. A person can be very talented and be the next Elton John, but it doesn't mean they're not depraved. Notice here, a lying tongue, a hands that shed innocent blood. Like, what are we talking about here? Like technology make a person not gonna shed innocent blood because the person understands the chemical formula. The person can kill one of the chemists next door who's probably trying to be the next great chemist, and the person don't want him to win because the person is an aspiring Olympic figure skater, it doesn't mean that they can hack up somebody else and mess up with somebody else who is trying to win the gold in Olympics. Human beings are just human beings. A heart that deviseth wicked imagination. People can come up with some stuff. It's like, who invented this thing? Or who came up with this thing? It's some wicked person. You see these people that, there's always these movements. There's this movement and that movement. It's just devised wicked imaginations. No, it's a feet that be swift to run into mischief. You have all the things that need to be done to help humanity. And somebody preoccupy themselves with just doing, it blows your mind how people are what they are. Last night, before I go to bed, so I can have, this wasn't for me to have sweet dreams. It didn't affect my dream. I didn't even think about it after I stopped watching it. But I was watching this thing where there's a young man at 22 years old, in Dallas, I think it is, Texas. He went to the federal building to shoot it up. And I guess he definitely didn't get inside. I saw the video. He went to the front door and started opening fire inside of it. And I guess the federal security, I guess, opened fire on him. He ran across the street and it took him down. Died of gun, whatever. And he had quite a few clips on him to take out a lot of people. I was watching this and thinking, man, there's so much good that one could do in the world. But it always reminds you that a heart that is in need of a savior is deprived and will go about doing foolishness, because he says the weapons he have was to I guess rescue or something the republic. He's going to rescue the republic or save the republic. So somehow, and I hope it's not another wave of them. I just hope he's just mad in his own self by himself, because somehow he probably is storming into a federal building with people all around, armed to the teeth, and doing a shootout with the police and the security guards is gonna save the republic. And I'm like, how big this republic is. You're not gonna save it by shooting up one building, and you're not gonna save it by shooting up anything. But I guess because, I don't know, George Washington rescued America from the British, he's gonna do this single, and it's just people crazy. It's just depravity. But somebody said, but he's civilized because look at the arms that he had. He had so much bullets on him. No, this is simplistic thinking. Actually, sometimes when I'm covering topics like this, I'm like, sometimes I don't cover topics like this because I'm like, what's the point? I mean, don't we all know? But you have people who really believe this in our society. They really believe that they're advanced and they're better than a person like the pygmies living in Africa. And I'm thinking, the thing, right? Where they said that before, Europe and America used to send missionaries to go to Africa to witness to the people that had bone in their nose, and plates in their lips, and bone in their ears. And now you have Africa sending missionary come to America to witness to people that are Americans who now have bone in their nose, plates in their lips, and bone in their ears. And I guess it would be the same thing for somebody in the Polynesian islands and the various different islands in the Pacific. We used to send missionaries there, and the missionaries will convince them to get off all the tattoos of their body, or not tattoo themselves anymore, and stop inking up themselves. And now I guess the Polynesian have to come to America and convince them to get all the tattoos off themselves. It's how things change and move around. But they tell you human behavior is human behavior. But if you make human behavior be, well, if you live in a certain group, the group is righteous. The group ain't righteous. You're righteous if you follow Jesus. So notice here, in 20 it says, my son, keep thy father's commandment and forsake not the law of thy mother. Bind them continually upon thine heart and tie them about thy neck. When thou goest, it shall lead thee. When thou sleepest, it shall keep thee. And when thou awakest, it shall talk with thee. Literally. It's like you have a conversation with the Bible. Somebody said the Bible is not alive. Well, they're not alive. And to go read it. Verse 23, for the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light, and reproof of instructions are the way of life. Why? To keep thee from the evil woman, from the flattery of the tongue of a strange woman. Lust not after her beauty in thine heart, neither let her take thee with her eyelids. She wink at you fall to the ground, you're like, woo. For by means of a whorish woman, a man is brought to a piece of bread, a crusty piece of bread. And the adulteress will hunt for the precious life. This is why when I remember the Me Too movement came in, I'm like, this human progress. They're coming with all kind of, oh yes, it's Me Too. We don't hunt. And then the Bible said, don't listen to them. Women hunt. Can a man take fire in his bosom and his clothes be not burnt? Can one go up upon hot coals and his feet not be burnt? So it's just to be careful, you might get burnt. So somebody said, what we're talking about, technology here, or we're talking about relationships? I'm telling you, it's the same thing with any type of human inventions. You can see a young person and they come out of high school, they went to college, and they say, I'm going to work in the State Department. I'm going to work in the UN. I'm going to work for world peace. I'm going to go off to Africa because I'm going to go sort stuff out over there. And you're like, really? You go to church? Yeah. What did pastor teach you? Didn't teach you nothing in church? You've lost your mind. Just go get a job and make some money. Forget about all that foolishness. If you want to really do something, become a missionary or something. Go preach the gospel. You'll get more done. And so someone said, what does that have to do with a whorish woman? Because I'm telling you, what it is, the person will hunt for your life. The person will pretend that there's something that they're not. And if the veil is not removed, you can see institutions and stuff like that, though they have a mandate to do whatever, they're corrupt. Though they say they're here to feed the poor or whatever, they're part of the corruption in the society. You got to be careful. You can't be quick to get all flattered up and believe that, say, oh, this thing looks so beautiful. You got to know what's going on behind the scenes, and that this thing here is a whore. This thing sell itself to the highest bidder. This thing sell itself to, it call itself a non-profit, but this thing sell itself to whoever is paying. Don't listen to that. You look at this here, Matthew chapter 23, verse 27 onward. It says, woe unto you scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you're like whited sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outward, but are within full of dead men bones and of all uncleanness. You look at it, look at them in their beautiful robes. They look so good. And you'll be like, man, knock it off. You don't know what's going on. That's all facade. Inside is dead men bones. Even so, ye also outwardly appear righteous unto men, but within are full of hypocrisy and iniquity. So you could have a system. You could say, look at this system, look at this country, look at this thing. Stop it. It's sinners at the helm. Sinners in the citizenry. Ain't nothing good coming on. It just look pretty. There's people want to make something look pretty. You can't take old dirty rusty metal, recycle it and shine it down, and it's beautiful. You can take recycled material and it looks so beautiful. It's just recycled material. It looks good though. I'm not gonna lie, it really looks good. I love that stuff. But I'm not fooled by it. I'm just like, yeah, it's nice. Notice it says, verse 29, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because ye build the tombs of the prophet, and you garnish the sepulchre of the righteous. So you can go right now to Washington, D.C., and you can just see the sepulchre of, or the image or whatever of Martin Luther King Jr. And you say, who shot him? Well, we're not going to talk about that right now. We're just going to talk about the images right there. We prefer him dead, and then we can put up a monument to him. We have to shut him up. So that's what we did. We shut him up because he would have keep talking. But we can honor him now that he's dead. That's what the Bible said here. That's what they did to the various prophets that they murdered. And say, if we had been in the days of our fathers, we would not have done slavery. This is what they're saying today. And Again, I'll read the way the Bible read it. It says it. Christ says it. And it says, if we had been in the days of our fathers, we would not have been partakers with them in the blood of the prophets. Wherefore ye be witness unto yourselves, that ye are the children of them which killeth the prophet. Fill ye up then the measure of your fathers. So he's just basically saying, hey, look, you all be murdering people. And you still be murdering people. So let's stop the hypocrisy. Oh, no, people say, no, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. You know, one of the fascinating things I'd experienced firsthand personally, especially when I was building my house up here in New Jersey. You have to deal with these people who are supposed to be conservationists. They want to conserve natural habitat. And you'd be like, oh, that's so cute. They want to conserve natural habitat. They seem so right. I'm going to have to do whole programs on this because this is one of the big hypocrisy amongst us. And you see these people, they call themselves the Greenpeace, or you call themselves, what do they call themselves? Some type of club. I can't remember the name of the club. Sierra Club and all this stuff. A bunch of, it is something else. They want to save the planet. But they use those principles to red line, to keep certain demographics, certain minority and poor people out of their communities. Yeah, we want to serve the planet, but we don't want to live amongst your kind. And you see that they do this type of stuff. We have to preserve this land for the frogs. This frog is an endangered frog. But there's human beings over here that they're endangered also. They live in the ghetto that you created and built and you destroyed by your free trade acts, and they're dying. You're not gonna save them. No. We don't save. We save frogs. We don't save the toads. Need to be saved. And they come up with this type of stuff. But you see the depravity. You see the sickness in the mind, because it's the same sickness that the parents did. They're just doing the same sickness, but they use, we're saving nature, we're saving the habitat. But the living habitat for the poor, we don't care about the squalor that they live in. We're not trying to save that. We spend billions. We go and we try to stop the Exxon Valdez from spilling. But the bloodshed that's going on in other places, we don't worry about it. We actually create that. So notice here, while the habitats that they're trying to save or they're trying to preserve were habitats that were destroyed by their parents and foreparents. And they're the one that destroyed it in the first place. So they destroy everything, and then they say, well, a little that left, we're going to save it. I'm like, little? What are you talking about little? You own up all the property and you limit people from moving around because you just cramp everybody into certain locations. And you make sure you ban certain developments, and you pay places like Newark and Camden to do poor housing. And you say, we pay you, you keep the poor people and the minorities in your community. But we over here, we want to stay by ourselves. And that's what they do. And then when you try to come in, they say, oh no, we're going to block you and fight you because we don't want your kind in here. I'm like, what is my kind? How am I living? How be my lifestyle that you don't want me? So you better than me? When? How? But that's what you see. If you notice here, the same thing. I have my board here, my paper here, not paper, because I'm not dealing with paper here. I'm dealing with screens. On my screens here, I wanted to read Revelation 18. But when you read Revelation 18, to quickly summarize in the next minute, is that Revelation 18 shows you, pull back the veil and show you. You see all this business that they're doing? You see all this commerce? It might seem like, oh, look, globalism. But it's there, the Father. The same these are the kids of the people, the Jim Crow and slavery. They seem to have the same sentiment and mindset. So they just take the same philosophy and say, hey, let's bring it to China. Oh, China not working out. Let's bring it to Vietnam. Let's bring it to Malaysia. Let's bring it to Africa. Let's bring it anywhere. We just make poor people work for nothing. It's the same principle. It's just they flip it and they change it and they whatever so that they don't have to pay people a decent living wage. So they don't have to take care of the poor. So when you study the Bible, what the Bible does, it pulls back the veil, the facade, the hypocrisy, the fakeness, the pretension, and it reveals to you what really is going on. And that, there's no such thing as, because human being is inventing and they're civilized, that they're doing better. It's the same depravity. Human beings still need a savior. They still need to find the Lord. Nothing has changed. We're in need of a savior. There's only one way to be saved, but it's through Jesus Christ. Let's pray. Our Father who art in heaven, I thank you again for your word that reveals to us, dear Lord. Give us eye salve that we might see and that we might be delivered from the deceptions of the devil. May you bless us, dear Father, as we go through this day. This is my prayer. In Jesus' name, amen. Thanks again for being with me on Revive Reform Radio. Looking forward to talking to you again live tomorrow morning, where we should talk about natural health. Until then, I pray that you may continue to walk with the King.